Welcome back. So today, what I'm actually going to talk to you about is a lens I picked up for my Sony E-mount. It is a Viltrox 85mm. Actually, it's a 1.8. However, now it's 1.6, and I'll talk about that shortly. I picked it up because really I wanted something with a little bit longer focal length than the lens I'm actually shooting on right now, which is the Sigma 24 to 70mm f2.8. So really, when I bought it, I was just looking around for something that would be more of a portrait lens, although I've been using this for more than that. And I came across this, and when I saw the price, in all actuality, the new one, this is the Mark 1. The new one is actually listed, the Mark 2 is listed for the exact same price, which is $399 brand new. I started more or less looking into it because it seems like it was really cheap for a really fast lens. And then it was really funny because once I kind of decided that I was going to buy it, I actually ended up buying it from Amazon warehouse, and I ended up paying less than $300 for it. I believe the total price to me was about $290. So I thought it was a fantastic value. What I will say about the lens is Viltrox actually released an update to this lens that changed the aperture, so it made it slightly faster. So now it's actually a 1.6. There is a individual, let me just look over here. Yeah, Stefan Malak. He actually did a tutorial on how to update this lens. And one of the things that I will say, if you do decide to try it, there's a point where it becomes a little cumbersome, where you're, needless to say, you have to turn the manual focus. You have to rack it a couple of, or like 4 times, according to the video, I believe, for it to actually take. I had to do that like 12 times, and it finally worked. But once again, not knowing this, I had to do a little more digging, and they basically said that that usually is the case if you're having a problem getting it to update the firmware to change the aperture, just rack it more times. So just something to consider if you ever decide to try it. But back to the lens. Overall, I've been really impressed with this lens. First off, what I'll say, of course, came with a pretty cheap lens hood. But what I will say is that is the only thing that is cheap about this lens. I mean, if you look at this thing, I'm going to tell you, this is like pretty, like all metal. The only thing that you really don't get at this price point is there really isn't like a rubber gasket or anything that would probably make it safe to use in any wet or damp conditions. But otherwise, it's a beast. And I mean, it's gigantic. You can tell that this thing, in my opinion, will probably last for quite some time. And I can't speak for the internals yet because I haven't had it as long yet. But from what I can tell, especially when I compare this to like the Sony 50 1.8, granted that lens was about half the price of this lens, but yeah, by far, build quality of Viltrox is really good. I'm actually looking forward to more of their lenses if they continue to make them like this. Now, what goes along with that build quality is the weight, and it is a heavy lens. Yes, it is a prime, and it is a fast prime, and even faster prime down to 1.6, so there has to be some downside with an aperture that gigantic, and it is the weight of it. It's really not that large, I don't think, but it is heavy. I like that because it just feels like it's more robust. I've had a chance to take this out to shoot, and I'm going to show some photos shortly just to kind of show you what it can do. And I haven't shot with it a whole heck of a lot. I really haven't done a lot of video with it yet. In all actuality, I'm thinking the next YouTube video I put up, I'm probably going to use this lens just to see how it performs. But as far as the features are concerned, I'm going to go ahead and just turn here and show you kind of what I've come up with. If I can actually get this to, okay, let's jump over to Photoshop. All right, these are just some of the pictures I took. So this was actually, all these photos are taken in auto, and in this case, I had animal eye detect on, which I think it worked really well. I mean, you can actually kind of take a look at it for yourself, but from what I can see, I believe that it's sharp. Not really a whole heck of a lot of vignetting. And by the way, this was actually wide open when I shot it. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. Not all of these were. As we step through here, so one of the problems I was having with this is I went out to shoot just some outdoor stuff. I saw some cats mountain biking in a place where I normally mountain bike, so I started chatting with them. And the next thing you know, I was shooting. The autofocus for items like this, sports in general, it doesn't really appear to be as fast. It definitely isn't as fast as the Sigma. And then I also noticed that it kept missing focus, which was kind of annoying, to be honest with you. Being at this focal length and considering the trail that I was on when I was shooting, I had to stand in one particular spot, and I was actually trying not to fall off the edge. So I don't know, I was kind of focused on other things, no pun intended. But I think that I probably would have been better served to just throw it in manual and to shoot. But I didn't. I still wanted to, like I said, try out the autofocus, because so far, every lens that I've actually purchased with or for my Sony, I've been really impressed with the autofocus. So I kind of wanted to stick with it for this test with this lens. Let's see, the next one, same thing here. It's a little sharper, but it's not as sharp. And keep in mind, granted, this guy was wearing a full face, this guy wasn't. I had the human eye detect on here, and it really didn't hit. Not like I thought it was going to. But I do like the colors, I will say that. And then, yeah, same thing, not as sharp. So this was a photo that I actually took, and I'm actually going to jump over to this photo, which was funny because when I just started experimenting, I'm actually about a 6-mile straight line distance from the building that I was shooting. That's actually a college campus, and the park that I was in is Ute Valley. And needless to say, there's 6 miles. So if you think about it, what I ended up doing, and I'll go to the next one, is I took my A7 III and I put it in APS-C mode. So that would add, okay, let me do some math here. Probably should have did this before. Let me see, 42. It would be about 120 millimeters or so. And if I mess this up completely, I'll just fix it and put it on the screen. And then I actually used clear image zoom, which would double it. And basically I was able to take this photo, which I thought was really neat, because here I am standing in a park and I'm looking straight line distance 6 miles away at a campus. And frankly, I thought the picture was pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not as sharp, right? And then because I'm using APS-C mode, I'm not getting my full 24 megapixels. But it was just something to play around with, since this is a prime, and with the A7, you or A7 III, you have those options. All right, so moving right along, I did the exact same thing with this individual. So this was in the park, and I'm actually going to make that into a full view. So let's do this. All right. So yeah, I shot, and then let me just make sure. Yep, this is actually where I started. So let's go here. So fit on screen. All right, and then this one. So yeah, so I started here, I was shooting, and then from there, I went to APS-C mode. So like I said, back to about 120 or so. Hopefully you can see the difference. And then from there, I doubled it. I used clear image zoom. Still see the guy. And like I said, the detail is actually pretty neat, just because, I can actually make out that this guy has a derailleur on the back of his mountain bike, and I'm standing quite a distance away. As far as how far away I was from this guy, I would say maybe probably about a mile, I would say. That's just a guess, because once again, we're still in the same park. But yeah, so that's a couple of things I've done with it so far, playing around with it. I also did some video, and the video was, it was hit or miss. And that's one of the reasons why I said, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this out, shooting a YouTube video, just to see if maybe that kind of can show me where the performance stands, whether it's good or bad. Because like when I did try it, I tried it in the park. It took a little while to hit. I actually shot 2 different videos. I may just put up one. I'll probably put up the better one. But the other one was kind of useless because it did not pick me up at all. And then even when I got close, I was still outside the minimum focus, and it just wasn't picking me up. But that's it. Now, here's the deal. I didn't really buy this for video. I bought this to shoot stills. And from what I can tell, it does that really well. I think that I just gonna have to spend more time learning the lens, getting used to it. Because even the autofocus thing, my camera is set to the fastest settings for autofocus. So I may have to just play around just to kind of see what works better and then what environments might work better for this particular lens. But overall, I mean, for the price, I don't think it can go wrong. And I would say even for the full price, I would actually buy this lens again. Now, going to the Mark II version, from what I can see, it looks like they've actually improved their STM, which is their autofocus motor. So maybe the issues that I thought that I have, and I haven't confirmed it yet, might not even be an issue with this lens once I get a chance to try out the autofocus capability. But once again, happy, and I would definitely recommend this lens so far. And this video really is just to show you what it looks like shooting video. What I actually did is I set the ISO to 100 and it's actually automatic white balance, shooting in movie mode, 24 frames per second, shutter speed of 1/50th, and I think that's about it. Oh, actually autofocus is on. I have human eye detect on my A7 III. So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna leave my glasses on for now, just kind of walk towards the camera just to kind of see, you know, if it loses me, if it doesn't. I have the background back there for a reason. I wanted some contrast and I think my flags provide enough. In addition to that, okay, it's lost focus, but I think I'm very close to the minimum focus distance. I'm gonna back up. I also have 3 light sources here. So instead of using my normal lighting kit, I'm using daylight. I have a balcony door, French door here that's wide open. I have on this side of the house, which is kind of where the sun is. It's not necessarily directly on this side. I have a window partially open, and then I'm using that window to reflect light into the mirror behind the camera to basically bounce back on me. So kind of challenging, I believe, for the camera and the lens, but I think it's something that most lenses camera combos on the A7 III should be able to handle. So far it looks like it's working fine. I don't see any issues. Feel free to leave comments down below if you do. Light's reflecting off my bald head. It's not really that overexposed, I don't think. And then, yeah, so it lost me. So the other thing I want to try to do is to take my glasses off and just to see if it'll help with the autofocus since it is eye detect. I don't know, but why not? Get a little bit closer. This is about as close as I got the last time before it lost focus. And yeah, so it did it again. So yeah, I think it looks okay. Once again, I did not buy this lens for video. I really bought this lens, and most of the times 85 millimeters is considered the portrait lens. I will be using it for that, but I'm actually using it for other stuff too, like street photography, you know, like I said, outdoor stuff like I showed you, those types of things. I use my lenses for whatever I want to use them for. I don't necessarily label them as a certain type of lens. But if you have any questions about this lens, please leave them in the comments below. In addition to that, I want to say thank you for subscribing. I finally hit 300 subscribers. And I started this YouTube channel. Really, I joined YouTube probably in 2012, but I didn't really post any videos. But really, I started kind of posting videos about cameras and computers, those types of things, probably about 1.5 years ago. So, channel's growing and pretty happy with that. I don't plan on changing the content anytime soon. I do plan on eventually starting another channel that's probably going to focus on more automotive stuff. And I really don't want to mix up the subjects because I think that's kind of confusing. So I think I'm just going to separate that channel from this channel. But if you have any questions, comments, once again, leave them down below. Click like, subscribe, and Agent Fit signing out.